Hello everyone and welcome to my channel Y&R Trends. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. The scene opens in the opulent, tension-filled halls of Newman Enterprises, the usual hum of business and whispers of scandal abruptly replaced by a charged silence as Victor Newman, the indomitable titan of Genoa City, strides through his office with Diane by his side, their expressions a mixture of curiosity, suspicion, and unspoken dread, the morning sunlight streaming through the floor-to-ceiling windows reflecting off the polished marble, casting long, ominous shadows that seem to foreshadow the chaos about to erupt, and as Victor moves toward the inner corridors, his keen eyes catching subtle movements in the office across the hall, his heartbeat quickening not just from the adrenaline of corporate conquest but from the deep-seated suspicion that had been gnawing at him for weeks, the uneasy feeling that nothing in his meticulously controlled empire is ever as it seems, while Diane, ever observant and attuned to Victor's moods, senses the change in his stride, the slight tightening of his jaw, the flicker of rage that he tries to mask behind a veneer of calm, the kind of controlled fury that has toppled enemies, manipulated allies, and rewritten the fate of Genoa City countless times before, and yet today feels different, heavier, more personal. A storm brewing not in the market or the boardroom but in the heart of his own family, and as they round the corner toward the private conference suite, their eyes fall upon a scene that freezes time, a tableau so intimate and shocking that it threatens to undo everything Victor thought he knew. For there, in a tangled embrace of passion and betrayal, are Jack and Nikki, the lines of their bodies intertwined in a moment of reckless abandon, the air thick with the heat of their illicit rendezvous, and Victor, the master strategist, the man who has survived betrayals, murders, and corporate warfare, feels a primal, gut-wrenching sting that no amount of money, power, or influence can shield him from, while Diane's gasp, restrained but undeniable, cuts through the tension like a blade. A voice that carries equal parts astonishment and disbelief, the very embodiment of the moral compass she tries to maintain amid the chaos of Newman family drama. And in that instant, the walls of the office, the polished floors, the pristine furniture, all seem to close in, the luxurious veneer of power and control giving way to raw, unfiltered human emotion, anger, heartbreak, betrayal, and a sense of helplessness that Victor rarely allows himself to feel, yet now courses through his veins like wildfire, his mind racing through the scenarios, the confrontations, the ultimatums, the revenge plots that have become second nature to him, all the while Nikki, oblivious to the looming presence, her hair cascading over her shoulders, her eyes closed, a moment of stolen bliss painted across her features, and Jack, the ever-confident schemer, now caught in the crossfire of a battle far larger than he anticipated, their secrecy shattered in the most brutal way, and Victor, his breathing shallow, clenches his fists, the knuckles white, his internal dialogue a torrent of accusations, memories, and the bitter sting of betrayal, recalling the nights he had fought for Nikki's love, the battles waged to keep his family intact, the promises made and broken, the web of lies spun to protect what he held dear, all unraveling in one horrific instant, and Diane, sensing the dangerous precipice upon which they now stand, moves subtly to position herself as a buffer, a voice of reason, but even she knows that nothing can mitigate the immediate emotional impact, the shock waves that will ripple through the family and the company, and as Victor's mind races, plotting his next move with the precision of a chess master yet haunted by the rawness of the betrayal, the sound of their movements, the intimate noises become deafening, a cruel soundtrack to a scene he cannot unsee, cannot undo, and in that suspended moment, Victor's past confrontations, his battles with Jack, the long-standing rivalries, the corporate takeovers, the personal vendettas, all coalesce into a singular, burning need for answers, for justice, for retribution, even as the raw human element of heartbreak pierces him in a way no boardroom maneuver ever could, and Diane, ever perceptive, knows that this is not just about infidelity, not just about a moment of passion, but a calculated move that could destabilize the delicate balance of power, love, and loyalty that defines Newman Enterprises and the tangled web of relationships in Genoa City. And as she glances at Victor, she sees the storm brewing behind his eyes, the tempest of wrath, anguish, and determination, a storm that has toppled empires and reshaped destinies, and now threatens to engulf everyone in its path, while Jack and Nikki, still entangled in their forbidden embrace, remain blissfully unaware of the seismic shift their actions have caused. the betrayal cutting deeper because it is layered with years of history, emotional investments, and unspoken alliances, and Victor, forcing himself to breathe to temper his initial visceral reaction, begins the mental calculation of consequences, the potential moves, the inevitable confrontations, knowing that each choice carries the weight of personal and professional ruin, yet understanding that inaction is not an option, that the very essence of his being, his identity as Victor Newman, the man who bends the world to his will, demands a response, a reckoning, a confrontation that will shake Genoa City to its foundations. And Diane, silently standing by, recognizes the danger, the volatile mix of emotions and power at play, and prepares herself to navigate the treacherous waters ahead, the court of public opinion, the internal battles within Newman Enterprises, the ripple effects on friends, family, and foes alike, while Jack, finally sensing the presence of witnesses, freezes, his mind scrambling for justification, excuse, denial, anything to mitigate the fallout. And Nikki, the eternal enigma, the woman whose heart has been torn between love, loyalty, and desire, opens her eyes, her gaze meeting Victor's for a brief, electric instant, a look that carries the weight of unspeakable truth and forbidden temptation, a silent acknowledgement of the magnitude of what has just been witnessed, and in that instant, the air becomes taut, charged with tension, the invisible threads of power, passion, and betrayal stretching to their breaking point. And as the seconds stretch into what feels like eternity, Victor steps forward, the sound of his shoes on the marble floor echoing like a drumbeat of impending doom, Diane instinctively close behind, while Jack and Nikki attempt to compose themselves, but the damage is done, the facade shattered, and the consequences inevitable, a cascade of reactions and counter-reactions set in motion that will ripple through boardrooms, bedrooms, and hearts across Genoa City. And Victor, his voice low but lethal, finally breaks the silence, the words slicing through the charged atmosphere, demanding answers, confronting the betrayal, while Diane watches, knowing that the unfolding drama will redefine alliances, destroy illusions, and leave scars that may never fully heal. And as Jack stammers, caught between guilt and bravado, Nikki struggles to justify, to explain, to contain the chaos she has inadvertently unleashed. And the scene becomes a microcosm of everything the young and the restless represents. Love and lust, power and betrayal, loyalty and revenge, all colliding in a single explosive moment, leaving no character untouched, no relationship unchanged. And as Victor's eyes narrow, calculating the next move, Diane, sensing the storm that is about to hit the fragile ecosystem of Newman Enterprises and Genoa City itself, it becomes clear that this moment, this singular, shocking, unforgettable moment, will be remembered, dissected, and felt by everyone, shaping the trajectory of lives, love, affairs, and business empires, a testament to the intricate web of desire, ambition, and human fallibility that defines the world of the young and the restless. And as the tension reaches its peak, the narrative expands, the possibilities multiply, the characters' choices, reactions, and secrets intertwine in a dizzying dance of drama and suspense, all culminating in a scenario where betrayal is not just personal but public, the shock not just emotional but strategic, and the consequences not just immediate but far-reaching, setting the stage for weeks, months, even years of intrigue, confrontation, redemption, and revenge. As Victor and Diane prepare to navigate the fallout, Jack and Nikki grapple with guilt and desire, and Genoa City itself holds its breath, waiting for the next twist, the next revelation, the next dramatic upheaval in a world where nothing is certain, no one is untouchable, and every secret has the power to explode in the faces of those who thought they were untouchable. A city suspended on the edge of scandal, where every glance, every whisper, every touch carries weight, where loyalty is tested, alliances are shattered, and hearts are left in ruins. And in this charged atmosphere, every character must confront the truth of their choices, the depth of their passions, and the fragility of their carefully constructed lives, while viewers, captivated and horrified, bear witness to the ultimate collision of love, power, and betrayal, the quintessential elements that define the enduring legacy of the young and the restless, a legacy built on shocking revelations, emotional intensity, and the inexorable pull of human desire, leaving no one unchanged, and ensuring that the story of Victor, Diane, Jack, Nikki, and the sprawling, interconnected world of Genoa City will continue to grip, fascinate, and terrify audiences for generations to come. Victor's presence, like a storm cloud over a sunlit skyline, dominates the office, his gaze fixed on Jack and Nikki with a ferocity that can only be matched by the searing sting of betrayal, and Diane, standing slightly behind, senses the charged electricity in the room, the palpable tension that has transformed a routine day in Newman Enterprises into a crucible of raw emotion and impending catastrophe, while Jack, usually composed, self-assured, and armed with a quick wit that could disarm even Victor himself, now falters, the color draining from his face as he realizes that the carefully constructed veil of secrecy and seduction has been ripped away in an instant, leaving him exposed, vulnerable, and painfully aware that the man before him, Victor Newman, is a force that stops at nothing when wronged, a force whose vengeance is both legendary and personal, while Nikki, caught in the intersection of desire, loyalty, and fear, stumbles over the words she never thought she would have to speak, the words that could either save her or destroy her. Yet her mind races in a torrent of conflicting emotions, the thrill of illicit passion mingling with the dread of discovery, the love she once had for Victor warring against the temptation that Jack embodies, and in that suspended moment, the room itself seems to contract, the walls pressing in as if to amplify every heartbeat, every inhale, every whispered accusation, the air thick with betrayal, lust, and unspoken threats. And Victor, sensing the fragility of the moment, begins to navigate the delicate, lethal terrain of confrontation, his voice low, deliberate, and dripping with a tension that makes it impossible to ignore, asking questions that cut to the heart of the deception, each syllable a scalpel slicing through years of trust, love, and history, while Diane, ever the voice of reason, attempts to temper the inevitable eruption, knowing that any misstep could ignite a chain reaction that would consume not only careers and relationships but also the very sense of identity for all involved. And as Jack opens his mouth, attempting to offer excuses, apologies, or perhaps even manipulation to salvage his position, his carefully rehearsed words falter under the weight of Victor's presence and the moral gravity of the betrayal, while Nikki, torn between guilt and desire, struggles to meet Diane's steady, disapproving gaze, unable to reconcile the person she is with the choices she has made. Choices that have led to a collision of hearts, egos, and power dynamics that will reverberate across Genoa City like a shockwave, toppling alliances, igniting old rivalries, and exposing secrets long buried. Yet in the midst of this personal and emotional upheaval, Victor's mind, ever strategic, begins to calculate the broader implications, the leverage he can gain, the relationships he can manipulate, and the revenge he can exact, because while betrayal cuts deep, opportunity often hides within the ruins. And Diane, recognizing the dual nature of Victor's reaction, rage intertwined with cunning, prepares herself to act as mediator, confidant, and, if necessary, enforcer, while Jack and Nikki, sensing the shifting tides, begin to panic, their attempts at composure crumbling as the reality of the consequences settles upon them like a leaden weight. And outside the office, whispers ripple through Newman Enterprises, the staff sensing a disruption in the usual rhythm, the air thick with speculation, fear, and anticipation, knowing that the fallout from this explosive encounter will touch every corner of the company and the lives of those intertwined with the Newman Empire, while Victor, still absorbing the shock of the betrayal, forces himself to consider the personal ramifications, the potential fractures in his marriage, the betrayal of trust, the impact on his children, on his legacy, on the delicate balance he has maintained between power and personal life for decades. And Diane, sensing the enormity of the moment, subtly shifts her stance, positioning herself as a stabilizing force, yet fully aware that in this world, stability is fleeting, temporary, and often an illusion, while Jack, the ever-present schemer, now stripped of confidence, struggles to assert himself, realizing that the charm and cunning that have served him well may not be enough to survive Victor's wrath. And Nikki, caught in the storm of her own making, feels the weight of history pressing down, the memories of love, betrayal, heartbreak, and reconciliation swirling together, creating a maelstrom of emotion that threatens to overwhelm her. While Victor, sensing the vulnerability, begins to speak, his voice measured yet menacing, recounting every slight, every perceived betrayal, every instance where trust was broken, the narrative crafted not only to confront but to intimidate, to assert dominance, to ensure that the power dynamic remains firmly in his favor. And Diane, while supporting Victor, also senses the human element, the emotional fractures beneath the surface, knowing that manipulation and strategy alone cannot fully address the consequences, that hearts must be considered alongside power, while Jack, attempting to salvage some semblance of dignity, begins to stumble through half-truths, apologies, and rationalizations, each word only further entangling him in the web of deceit, while Nikki, the center of the emotional storm, finally finds her voice, speaking in tones that oscillate between defiance, regret, and fear. Yet knowing that words alone may not bridge the chasm she has created between herself, Victor, and the lives touched by her actions, and as the confrontation escalates, the room seems to shrink, every glance, every gesture, every word charged with significance, as if the very walls of Newman Enterprises are witnesses to this unfolding drama, absorbing the shockwaves of emotion, power, and betrayal while outside, the city itself seems to hold its breath, Genoa City poised on the edge of revelation and scandal, the community, friends, rivals, and the innocent caught in the web of intrigue, each waiting for the fallout, the explosive consequences that inevitably follow when the powerful collide with the personal, and Victor, his mind calculating every possible outcome, every potential move, every ripple that this betrayal could cause, begins to formulate a plan, a strategy that encompasses both personal vengeance and professional maneuvering, because in Victor's world, every act of betrayal is not merely a personal affront but a potential opening for leverage, for control, for reassertion of dominance, while Diane, ever vigilant, recognizes the precarious balance between human emotion and strategic thinking, preparing herself to act as counselor, ally, and protector, while Jack and Nikki, now fully aware of the magnitude of what they have unleashed, struggle to comprehend the full extent of the fallout, the chain reaction of emotional, social, and corporate consequences, and as Victor continues to speak, detailing his knowledge, his observations, and the depth of the betrayal, Diane notes the subtle cues of impending action, the way Victor's posture tightens, his eyes narrow, his voice gains an edge of finality, signaling not only confrontation but the beginning of a campaign, a carefully calculated series of moves designed to restore balance, assert control, and exact justice as he sees fit, and Nikki, caught between remorse and defensiveness, attempts to navigate the emotional minefield, her words interspersed with pleas, explanations, and reminders of past loyalty, yet every attempt seems to fuel the fire, intensifying the confrontation rather than calming it, while Jack, facing the formidable presence of Victor and the moral weight of Diane's observation, finds himself trapped, the intricate dance of manipulation and persuasion failing him at a critical juncture, leaving him exposed, vulnerable, and at the mercy of a man who does not forgive lightly, who does not forget easily, and whose actions in the wake of betrayal are as unpredictable as they are relentless, and as the confrontation reaches its zenith, the tension becomes almost unbearable, the air thick with emotion, the stakes soaring, the narrative a microcosm of everything the young and the restless represents. Forbidden love, familial loyalty, ambition, deception, and the inexorable pull of desire and revenge, and in this charged atmosphere, every character's reaction, every whispered word, every glance carries weight, altering the trajectory of relationships, corporate power, and personal lives. As Victor and Diane prepare to navigate the treacherous waters, Jack and Nikki grapple with guilt and fear, and the sprawling world of Genoa City braces itself for the aftermath, knowing that the reverberations of this explosive revelation will echo through every heart, every home, every boardroom, and every corner of the city, reshaping destinies, redefining loyalties, and leaving no one untouched. And in the midst of it all, the viewer is left suspended, caught between shock, anticipation, and the irresistible pull of scandal, witnessing a moment that will define the future of Victor, Diane, Jack, Nikki, and every soul entangled in the intricate, emotional, and power-driven tapestry that is the young and the restless. A world where every secret, every betrayal, and every act of desire carries consequences far beyond what the eye can see, ensuring that the drama, the tension, and the spectacle will continue to grip the hearts and imaginations of audiences for years to come, leaving them eagerly awaiting the next revelation, the next confrontation, and the next explosive twist in the lives of those who live, love, fight, and betray in the sprawling, scandalous city of Genoa. As the initial shock begins to settle, Victor's mind races with the myriad ways this betrayal could ripple through his life and empire, while Diane watches him closely, sensing both the storm of anger and the calculated strategy forming behind his eyes, knowing that every word, every move, will carry consequences far beyond the immediate moment. And outside the office, whispers of scandal begin to circulate, staff exchanging nervous glances, gossip spreading like wildfire through Newman enterprises while Jack and Nikki, still reeling from the confrontation, exchange fleeting guilty looks, the weight of discovery pressing down, and Nikki's thoughts drift between fear, regret, and an inexplicable thrill of forbidden passion, all while Victor, composed yet menacing, steps closer, his voice low but resonant, demanding answers, accountability, and ultimately, the restoration of order. And Diane, recognizing the delicate balance between retribution and control, prepares herself to guide him through the chaos, aware that the fallout will affect every corner of Genoa City.